Whoa! This is great! Greetings from Australia!
Pozdrav iz Australije.
Oh boy,
O Bože.
you look great.
Super izgledate.
Vala, Vala. Vala. It's great to be here.
Odlično je biti ovdje.
Vala. Zdravo, eh? Zdravo. Kako ste? Oh dear. Greetings from Australia.
Pozdrav iz Australije.
Greetings from my family in Australia, my wife Joanne.
Pozdravi od moje obitelji, moje žene Joanne.
Greetings from Network 21 Australia.
Pozdrav od Networka 21 iz Australije.
And greetings from Peter Cox.
I pozdravi od Petera Coxa.
It's an absolute privilege for me to be here with you today.
Apsolutno je čast biti ovdje danas s vama.
I've always thought that our country, the country of Australia, was a team of sporting champions.
Uvijek sam mislio da je Australija zemlja sportskih šampiona.
And I feel that kindred spirit here today.
Osjećam taj duh ovdje danas.
I'm here amongst a country of champions.
Ovdje sam u zemlji šampiona.
The Olympics last year, your team, silver medal.
Olimpijada
Soccer.
prošle godine, srebrna zemalja vaše zemlje.
Basketball.
Košarka.
And your World Cup soccer as well. You are champions, and we really respect your country
Čestitam vam na uspjehu, nogometnom uspjehu vaše zemlje
because of the spirit that you have.
i to pokazuje vaš duh.
We have met with the leadership that is helping you
Upoznali smo se sa vodstvom koje vas vodi
and leading you,
i vodi.
and they speak so well and highly of all of you.
Tako dobro i visoko pričaju o vama.
I feel like I know you all.
Osjećam se kao da vas sve poznajem.
So it is great to be with you here today,
Zato je odlično biti ovdje s vama danas.
and today I will share some of the story of how I got started in the business.
I danas ću podijeliti svoju priču kako sam krenuo u ovom poslu.
Perhaps some of the lessons that I have learned will help you,
Možda neke lekcije koje sam ja naučio na sebi će vam moći pomoći.
and perhaps the lessons of how Joanne and I got started in the business will help you to work with other people like us.
I možda će vam neke lekcije koje smo Joanne i ja naučili i koje ću vam ja ispričati pomoći vama i vašim ljudima.
I will start by talking about myself first,
Počet ću govoreći o sebi,
because I started the business as a single,
zato što sam sam počeo ovaj posao.
and Joanne joined soon after.
I Joanne mi se malo kasnije priključila.
I am one of 6 children,
Ja sam jedan od 6 djece,
5 girls
5 djevojaka
and 1 boy.
i jedan dečko.
Because I have 5 sisters, I am the champion at hopscotch.
Zato što imam 5 sestara, šampion sam u gumigumiju.
They taught me well.
Dobro su me naučile.
I am from a poor family.
Iz siromašne sam obitelji.
My family had been poor forever, for many generations.
Moja obitelj bila oduvijek siromašna, mnoge generacije.
My father was a laborer with the railways,
Moj otac je radio kao radnik na željeznici
and he worked very, very hard to earn the money to raise 6 children.
i jako naporno je radio da bi skupio novac kako bi odgojio 6 djece.
And of course, my parents did a great job to raise 6 healthy children.
I dakako, moji roditelji su napravili izvrstan posao odgojivši 6 zdrave djece
And I'm forever grateful.
i zauvijek sam im zahvalan.
But I saw that my father never had any time to be with his family because he had to work.
Ali vidio sam da moj otac nije imao vremena biti sa svojom obiteljom zbog svog posla.
And I knew that when I grew up and had my own family,
I znao sam kad ja odrastem i kad ću imati svoju obitelj,
that I would rather be with my family, be with my children.
da bi rađe bio sa svojom obitelji, sa svojom djecom.
So that has always been a dream of mine.
I to je oduvijek bio moj san.
Also being so poor and our family always being poor,
I također bili smo siromašni, jako siromašni.
I remember from a young age having the dream that there must be more.
I od rane mladosti imam san da mora postojati više.
From a very young age, if we as children wanted something, we had to work.
I od rane mladosti ako smo nešto željeli morali smo raditi.
And so I had many jobs, working, delivering newspapers and all of these small jobs to earn some money.
Radio sam mnoge sitne poslove, na primjer dostavljao novine ili nešto slično, da bi zaradio nešto novaca.
John Maxwell says,
John Maxwell kaže,
those who do not create the future they want
Oni koji ne stvaraju budućnost koju žele,
must endure the future they get.
trebaju živjeti budućnost koju dobivaju.
So it all comes down to being determined to succeed and to do some work.
I sve se svodi na to da moraš biti odlučan i napraviti posao.
So I worked hard at school
Zato sam se naporno radio u školi
and I graduated to go to university,
i završio srednju školu i krenuo na fakultet.
and I was the first person ever in my family to be able to go to university.
I bio sam prva osoba koja iz moje familije krenula na fakultet.
I did not know what I wanted to do at university.
Nisam znao što sam htio od sveučilišta,
No one had advised me.
niko me nije usmjeravao
So the only way I chose to become, to do the course of architecture
i tako sam sam izabrao postati arhitekt.
was I took a coin from my pocket and tossed a coin.
Izvadio sam novčić iz džepa i novčić je odlučio umjesto mene.
I was very lucky that it came architecture
Bio sam jako sretan što je ispalo da je arhitekt.
because as it turned out, it's something that I really love.
Ispalo je da to zbilja volim.
And so it's very rare, I think, that people have a profession or a job that they really love.
Mislim da je jako rijetko da ljudi imaju zanimanje ili profesiju koju zbilja vole.
When I chose to do architecture, I did not know it was the hardest course in the world.
Kad sam izabrao arhitектuru za smjer, nisam znao da je to najteži smjer koji sam mogao izabrati.
Are there any architects here tonight?
Da li ima koji arhitekt ovdje večeras?
No, it looks like they all died trying to do the course.
Izgleda da su svi umrli trudeći se da završe studij.
It's a lesson that I learned though when I was doing my course,
To sam naučio dok sam studirao.
because about 250 people started with me
Počeo sam zajedno sa 250 ljudi
and about 40 finished.
i otprilike 40 nas je završilo.
Now the people that did not finish, it's not because they were not smart enough,
Ljudi koji nisu završili nisu doživjeli neuspjeh zato što nisu dovoljno pametni,
because many of them were much more intelligent and much more skilled than me.
mnogi od njih su bili inteligentni i sposobniji od mene.
It's just that they did not, the others that did not finish, they did not want the result enough.
Oni koji nisu završili nisu dovoljno htjeli postići taj rezultat.
And that's a lesson of life. You need to want the result enough to succeed.
I to je lekcija života. Moraš dovoljno željeti nešto postići da bi uspio u tome.
So I ask you, why are you here today?
Zato vas pitam zašto ste ovdje danas?
What are the results that you want for your life?
Kakve rezultate od života tražite?
What has brought you here today?
Što vas je dovelo ovdje?
Because if you are determined enough to succeed and to reach that result,
Ako ste dovoljno
just by being here today,
odlučni postići taj rezultat samim time što ste ovdje danas,
by plugging into the Network 21
s
system,
time što ste se priključili Networku 21,
by coming to the weekend seminar in Zagreb, which will be promoted all through the day,
s tim što ćete doći na vikend seminar koji će biti promoviran tijekom cijelog dana,
you are now in a place where you can be sure you will achieve your goal,
a sad ste na mjestu gdje možete biti sigurni da će postići svoje ciljeve.
if you want it enough.
Ako dovoljno dosta želite to.
At the same time, I played professional rugby league.
Istodobno sam igrao profesionalni ragbi.
I played for a team in Sydney called the mighty St. George Dragons.
Igrao sam za tim u Sydneyu Dragons, Zmajevi.
It's very funny because Peter Cox has a favorite rugby league team in Sydney.
To je jako smiješno zato što Peter Cox ima svoj omiljeni klub u Sydneyu.
His team is called the Cronulla Sharks.
Njegov tim se zove Cronulla Morski psi.
And Peter and I always joke
Peter i ja smo se uvijek šalili
because my team always beats his team.
zato što je moja momčad uvijek pobjeđivala njegovu.
So if you want to have a good joke with Peter next time he comes to see you or when you see him in Zagreb,
I zato ako se želite dobro našaliti sa Peterom dok dođe tu u Zagreb,
you need to shout out, "Up the mighty dragons."
morate viknuti živjeli Zmajevi.
That will make him laugh.
On će se nasmijati na to.
Will you do that for me?
Hoćete li to učiniti za mene?
That would be a good joke.
To bi bila dobra šala.
From playing sport like that, I learned that feeling of being a winner.
Igrajući sport takav, osjetio sam što znači biti pobjednik.
And do any of you like that feeling of being a winner?
Jel vi volite osjećaj biti pobjednik?
Because by being here today, you are a winner.
Jer zato što ste ovdje, vi ste pobjednici.
What you have in your hands with this business
Ono što imate u rukama sa ovim poslom
is the ability to feel like a winner every single day of your life.
jest mogućnost da se osjećate kao pobjednik svakog dana vašeg života.
With doing the course of university and with playing the sport and with having to work part-time jobs,
Studirajući, baveći se sportom i prinuđen da radim dodatne poslove razne.
and also with having a healthy young man's social life,
I uz to voditi zdrav život mladića.
it taught me to become a good manager of time.
To me naučilo da moram savladati svoje osobno vrijeme.
That is an important thing in this business
To je jako važna stvar u ovom poslu.
because there is always time if you manage it the right way.
Uvijek se nađe vremena ako ga dobro organizirate.
So the course of architecture is 6 years.
Studij arhitekture traje 6 godina.
I survived the course, or I passed the course.
Preživio sam studij, odnosno
It felt like surviving.
osjećao sam se kao da preživljavam.
I must tell you that to become an emerald in this business
Moram vam reći s time što sam postao smaragd u ovom poslu,
is much less work and much less hard than becoming an architect.
puno je lakše i puno manje napora zahtjeva nego postati arhitekt.
So with this business, you have the ability to really succeed.
Zato uz ovaj posao imate stvarno mogućnost da uspijete.
So I finished the course
Dakle, završio sam studij
and I wrote a list
i napisao sam listu
of all the architectural companies in Sydney.
svih arhitektskih firmi u Sidneju.
And I invited them
I pozvao sam njih
to have a meeting with me
da se sastanu sa mnom,
so I could show them my plans.
da im pokažem svoje planove.
Does it sound familiar?
Da li vam to zvuči poznato?
It's the same lesson in life.
Ista ta lekcija je života.
I was lucky enough to get a job with one of the best companies in Sydney.
Imao sam tolike sreće da sam dobio posao u jednoj od najboljih firmi u Sidneju
And during the first year that I worked with that company,
i tijekom prve godine rada u toj firmi
it was great experience.
bilo je to odlično iskustvo.
But during that time, I got another dream.
Ali tijekom tog vremena stvorio sam još jedan san.
And that dream was to travel,
Taj san je bio da putujem,
to see the world.
da vidim svijet.
Australia is very remote, very far away.
Australija je jako daleka, udaljena.
I wanted to come to Europe.
Htio sam doći u Europu,
I wanted to see the world.
htio sam vidjeti svijet.
Everybody that knew me
Svi koji su me poznavali
said, don't be stupid.
rekli su nemoj biti glup.
They criticized me.
Kritizirali su me.
They said, you can't do that.
Rekli su ti to ne možeš.
They said, that won't work.
Rekli su to neće raditi.
They said, you must not do that. It is the wrong thing to do.
Rekli su nemoj to raditi, to je pogrešno.
Now, should I have listened to them or should I have followed my dream?
I dakle, da li sam trebao slušati njih ili sam trebao pratiti svoj san?
Whose life is it?
Čiji je to život?
It's your life.
To je vaš život.
People will criticize you when you start this business.
Ljudi će vas kritizirati kad krenete u ovaj posao.
They don't understand your dream.
Ne razumiju vaš san.
They don't understand this business.
Ne razumiju ovaj posao.
You need to follow your dream.
Vi morate pratiti svoj san.
You need to create your life. If you let other people create your life, you will live with regret.
Morate stvoriti sami svoj život, ne da vam drugi ljudi stvaraju život, jer ćete živjeti život očajnički.
So you choose your own future, you build this business.
Dakle, vi izaberite svoju vlastitu budućnost, sagradite ovaj posao.
So I went overseas
Otišao sam preko mora
and everyone thought I'd be gone for maybe 3 months.
i svi su mislili da ću se vratiti za 3 mjeseca.
I was away for 6 years.
Vratio sam se nakon 6 godina.
I was able to work and travel in many, many countries.
Bio sam u mogućnosti raditi i putovati po mnogim zemljama.
Traveled all around Europe,
Putovao sam diljem Europe,
to Africa,
Afrika,
to the Middle East,
na Bliski istok,
to Asia.
u Aziju.
Just in all of those countries had great experiences.
I u svim tim zemljama sam doživio sjajne iskustva.
Now people who hear that story at the time, they said, oh gee, you're lucky.
Ljudi kada čuju takvu priču kažu, o, ti si sretan.
But do you think it's luck?
Ali da li vi mislite da je to sreća?
Or do you think you create your own luck?
Ili mislite da sami stvarate svoju sreću?
You create your own luck. You create your own future.
Vi stvarate svoju sreću, vi stvarate svoju budućnost.
And you can especially do that with this business.
To pogotovo možete napraviti uz ovaj posao.
I came back to Australia in the late 1980s.
Vratio sam se u Australiju kasnih 80-ih.
At that time, the economy in Australia was very strong.
U to doba ekonomija u Australiji bila vrlo jaka.
Everyone in classical business was making lots of money.
Svi su u klasičnom poslu zarađivali gomile novca.
So I was able to fulfill another dream.
Zato sam bio u mogućnosti ispuniti još jedan san.
And I started my own business in architecture and building.
I zato sam osnovao svoj vlastiti posao u arhitekturi i izgradnji.
It was very good times.
Bila su to jako dobra vremena.
We made lots of money
Zaradili smo puno novaca
and we felt very successful.
i osjećali smo se jako uspješni.
But in the classical business world, all good things come to an end.
Ali u klasičnom poslu svim dobrim stvarima dođe kraj.
The economy goes up
Ekonomija ide gore
and the economy goes down.
i ekonomija ide dole.
And in 1 month in the early 1990s, in 1 month, 3 of my biggest clients went bankrupt.
I 91. trojica mojih najvećih klijenata su bankrotirali.
They went bankrupt owing me many hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Bankrotirali su i ostali su dužni meni puno tisuća dolara, stotina tisuća dolara.
They went bankrupt leaving debts of many hundreds of thousands of dollars on the projects that we were working on.
Bankrotirali su i ostali su dužni stotine tisuće dolara projektima koje su započeli.
And I was left responsible.
I ja sam bio odgovoran za to.
Now the easy option at that time would be for me to say, I am bankrupt too.
Najlakše bi meni bilo onda isto reći ja sam bankrotirao.
So I could walk away from the debt.
Da bi mogao otići samo od duga.
But to me that was not an option.
Ali to za mene nije bila opcija.
If you're a person of integrity,
Ako ste poštena osoba,
if you're a person of your word,
ako napravite ono što si zacrtate,
then that is not an option.
onda to nije opcija.
So I made arrangements and I decided that I would pay back all of the monies that were owed to whoever.
Zato sam sve organizirao i odlučio vratiti novac svima kojima smo bili dužni.
I decided to be solution conscious.
Odlučio sam biti savjestan.
I decided to win.
Odlučio sam pobijediti.
And the only way to win in that situation is to work.
A jedini način da pobjediš u tome jest da radiš.
So for the next couple of years I worked very hard.
I tako sam idućih godina jako naporno radio.
I was working between 80 and 100 hours every week.
Radio sam između 80 i 100 sati svaki tjedan i tako iz tjedna u tjedan.
But everything came out good and all the debts were paid and everything is finished.
I na kraju je sve ispalo dobro, svi su dugovi bili vraćeni i sve je završilo.
But it took that decision to work and to succeed.
Ali bila je potrebna odluka.
Out of everything that goes wrong in life,
sve što pođe krivo u životu,
I believe there is also good lessons to learn.
Vjerujem da postoje i dobre lekcije koje se daju naučiti iz toga.
And the lesson that I learned in that experience,
a lekcija koju sam ja izvukao iz toga,
was in the classical business world, there's always lots of risk, financial risk.
Jest da u klasičnom poslu postoji jako visoki rizik.
And having that experience prepared me and opened up my eyes to other forms of business.
I to iskustvo me pripremilo i otvorilo mi oči prema mnogim drugim načinima biznisa.
And it was soon after that when business was once again very strong.
I ubrzo nakon toga posao je opet rastao.
And we're making lots of money.
Zarađivali smo puno novaca.
That a friend of mine approached me and asked if we could sit down and talk about a new business.
I onda mi je prišao prijatelj i pitao me da li bi mogli porazgovarati o jednom novom poslu.
This friend of mine I had known since I was about this high.
Tog svog prijatelja znao sam od malena.
So that is a good lesson.
Dakle, to je dobra lekcija.
When you're making your list, put everybody on the list.
Dok radite listu, stavite sve na listu.
People who you have known for years and years ago.
Ljude koje ste znali prije mnogo godina.
This friend of mine lived 1.5 hours away from me.
On je živio na sat i pol vremena od mene vožnje.
And his sponsor lived another hour away in another direction.
A njegov sponzor je živio još na sat vremena u drugom smjeru.
And he invited me many times and I was always too busy.
I pozivao me puno puta, ali ja sam uvijek bio prezaposlen.
Finally one day I said, okay, if you want to get together, I can see you on Sunday morning at 7 a.m.
I napokon sam mu rekao, dobro, ako se želimo naćemo se u 7 ujutro.
I made a business appointment with him.
Dakle, ja sam s njim dogovorio sastanak.
And even though he lived so far away,
iako je živio tako daleko,
they were both there on Sunday morning at 7 a.m.
Obojica su došli tamo u 7 ujutro u nedjelju.
Are you willing to meet people at different times if you think that they need to see this business idea?
Da li želite prilagoditi svoje vrijeme ljudima koje želite upoznati sa ovim poslom?
Was it worth it for him?
Da li će se to njemu isplatiti?
Yes, it was.
Je.
Was it worth it for me?
Da li se isplatilo meni?
I'm grateful that he did that.
Ja sam mu zahvalan što je to učinio.
Now they knocked on my door at 7 a.m.
Pokucali su na moja vrata u 7 ujutro.
And believe it or not, I was already working.
I vjerovali ili ne, ja sam već radio.
So I opened the door and I said, okay, half an hour.
I otvorio sam vrata i rekao sam im, ok, imate pola sata.
Little did they know they were about to meet the prospect from hell.
Nisu ni sanjali da će razgovarati sa osobom iz pakla.
We sat down at a table.
Sjeli smo za stol.
And they were going to draw the plan out on a piece of paper.
I htjeli su nacrtati plan na papiru.
They drew 2 circles,
Nacrtali su 2 kruga,
and I grabbed the pencil from them,
uzeo sam im penkalo
and I proceeded to draw what I thought was the business.
i ja sam nacrtao ono što sam
And
mislio da je posao
and I said, see, the business does not work.
i rekao, evo vidite, posao ne funkcionira.
Have you ever met anyone so arrogant as that?
Jeste li ikad upoznali nekog toliko arogantnog?
I'm sure you'll never have such a bad experience when you're showing someone the business.
Siguran sam da nećete imati tako loših iskustava dok ćete pokazivati posao.
Now, what did my friends do? Did they argue with me?
I što su moji prijatelji napravili? Da li su se svađali s menom?
No, they didn't.
Nisu.
They followed the system.
Pratili su sustav.
And the system says to just relax and ask questions.
A sistem kaže opustite se i postavljajte pitanja.
They offered me some information,
Ponudili su mi informacije
and I accepted the information.
i ja sam ih prihvatio.
The only reason I accepted the information was I was going to secretly talk my friend out of the business.
Prihvatio sam ga samo zato da bi potajno svog prijatelja odgovorio od posla.
So I kept the information and eventually I listened to the tape.
Zadržao sam informaciju i nakon nekog vremena sam poslušao kazetu.
And this is the part that's not fair,
I to je dio koji nije pošten.
because the tape that they loaned me was a Doug Weed tape.
Jer su mi posudili kazetu Daga Vida.
Because has anyone here heard tapes by Doug Weed?
Jeste li čuli koju kazetu od Daga Vida?
Yes. Now, how could you ever listen to a tape by such a wise and eloquent man
Kako možete slušati kazetu tako mudrog i pametnog
and
čovjeka
not think that there must be something good about this business?
i misliti da nema ničeg dobrog u ovom poslu?
So I phoned my friend, realizing that I had not seen the big picture,
I onda sam nazvao prijatelja i rekao mu da nisam shvatio o čemu se radi
and I said, what's the next step?
i pitao ga koji je sljedeći korak.
So by using the system,
I tako koristeći sistem,
rather than arguing,
rađe nego svađajući se,
the tapes did the work for him.
kazete su odradile posao za njega.
What we have in our hands with the Network 21 system
Ono što imamo u svojim rukama sa sistemom Networka 21
is the system will always be there to solve the problems for us.
je da će sistem uvijek biti tu za nas da nam riješi probleme.
That's a very important principle.
To je jako važno načelo.
So the next step for me was to go to an open plan.
Dakle, sljedeći korak za mene je bio da odem na otvoreni plan.
So Ron invited me, my sponsor invited me to an open plan,
I Ron, moj sponsor, me pozvao na otvoreni plan
and I didn't turn up.
i nisam se pojavio.
He invited me again,
Pozvao me opet,
many times,
puno puta,
and I no-showed.
i nisam se pojavio.
Finally, one day, he came to my house
Napokon je došao jednog dana u moju kuću
to kidnap me.
da me otme.
He arrived, and I said, well, I'll have to take my own car.
Došao je po mene, ali ja sam mu rekao ja ću uzeti svoj auto.
There's some choleric in me.
Imam kolerika u meni, u sebi.
We both drove to the open plan,
Obojica smo se odvezli do otvorenog plana.
and my poor friend drove all the way to the open plan. He didn't look at the road. He was looking in the rear vision mirror
A moj prijatelj se vozio, nije gledao cestu, nego je gledao u retrovizor da li sam ja iza njega.
to make sure
Cijelim
I didn't
putem.
to make sure I didn't turn off and go home.
Da se uvjeri da mu nisam pobjegao i otišao kući.
So you see, it's important to go and pick up your prospects.
Zato je jako važno da odete i pokupite svoje kandidate.
Because if you hadn't done that, I would have never gone to a business preview and I would have never joined this business.
Jel da to on nije napravio, ja nikad ne bi pristupio poslu.
So I got to the business preview and I walked into the room
Došao sam na plan i ušao u sobu
and I made the decision in an instant that I was going to join this business even before the plan started.
i u trenu odlučio da ću raditi ovaj posao čak i prije nego što je plan počeo.
Because as a businessman, I looked around and I saw businessmen.
Jer kao biznismen okrenuo sam se oko sebe i vidio sam same biznismene.
And I said there must be more to this that I have not yet seen.
I rekao sam sebi, tu sigurno nečeg ima.
If you get people to the business preview,
Ako dovedete ljude na predstavljanje biznisa,
most of the people who come to a business preview will join.
većina ljudi koji će doći će se priključiti.
Use the system.
Koristite sistem.
Yes, allow people to have a second look.
Dozvolite ljudima da imaju drugi kut gledanja.
At the end of the open plan,
Na kraju otvorenog plana,
as soon as it was finished,
čim je završio,
I made a run for the door
ja sam otrčao prema vratima.
because I had to get in my car and go home because I still had 5 hours of work to do that night.
Zato što sam morao sjesti u auto, odvesti se doma i još 5 sati raditi svoj klasičan posao.
My friend did not know that
Moj prijatelj to nije znao
and he thought I was running away.
i mislio da bježi.
And he's running after me saying, stop.
I on trči za mnom i viče stani, stani.
And I explained what had happened
A ja sam objasnio što se dogodilo.
and he said, oh, okay, and they booked a follow-up.
i rekao je ok i napravili su follow-up.
And they came to my house to do the follow-up,
Došli su meni u kuću, napravili su follow-up,
and I was not there.
a mene nije bilo tamo.
And they came again another day to do a follow-up,
I došli su opet drugi dan da naprave follow-up
and I was not there.
i mene nije bilo.
And they came again to do another follow-up,
I opet su došli napraviti follow-up
and I was not there.
i mene nije bilo tamo.
But this time I came home and there was a business pack leaning up against the front door
I jednog dana sam došao doma i tamo sam našao info paket
with a little information, with a little handwritten note on the top,
i sa malim papirićem napisanim
which said, listen to the tapes and do what it says.
na kojem je pisalo slušaj kazete i napravi nešto.
That was my follow-up.
To je bio moj follow-up.
And that's how I got started in the business.
I tako sam ja počeo s poslom.
So you might say, well, if you're working 80 hours a week, how can you get someone started who's so busy?
I tako mislite, neko ko radi 80 sati na tjedan, kako on može početi s poslom?
Do you know people who are really busy
Jel poznajete ljude koji su zbilja zaposleni
and you don't know how to get them started?
i ne znate kako da počnu?
Well, here's the answer.
Evo vam odgovora.
You don't start the person,
Ne pokrećite osobu,
you start the leg,
pokrećite nogu.
right? You're going to build a leg. You got to build a business.
Sagradit ćete nogu, sagradit ćete biznis.
My sponsor explained that if I had so little time, that the most time effective thing to do
Sponzor mi je objasnio, ako imam malo vremena, najefikasnije bi bilo
Ovdje strana A završava. Molimo, okrenite kazetu.
meeting so we can show lots of people at once.
da organiziramo dva velika skupa pa da pokažemo puno ljudi odjednom plan.
So we can roll the ball on, so we can let other people know
Tako da pokrenemo kuglu i upoznamo druge ljude s idejom
who aren't as busy as me.
koji su također zaposleni kao i ja.
That's how you get busy people started.
Tako pokrećete zaposlene ljude.
So the business got started,
Dakle, posao je počeo.
and I just did little things that I could do to learn the business.
Ja sam radio male stvari koje sam mogao da bi naučio posao.
I did a couple of things right.
Nekoliko stvari sam točno napravio,
I did a lot of things wrong,
ali puno krivo.
but the things I did right were some of these things.
Ali neke stvari koje sam učinio su bile dobre.
As busy as I was, I could still listen to the tapes.
I iako sam bio jako zaposlen, mogao sam slušati kazete.
And I fell in love with the tapes.
I zaljubio sam se u kazete.
And my experience over many years in this business
I moje iskustvo tijekom mnogih godina u ovom poslu
has shown that he who listens to the most tapes,
je pokazalo da onaj koji sluša najviše kazeta,
especially in the first 30 days when you're getting started in the business,
posebno prvih 30 dana kad kreće u posao,
will be the most successful.
bit će najuspješniji.
The other thing I did when I first got started
Još jedna stvar koju sam učinio dok sam krenuo
was, even though I had to work all day and most nights,
je bila, iako sam radio cijeli dan i dio noći,
I still made time at 8 o'clock at night
našao sam vremena u 8 sati na večer
to go out and show the plan.
da izađem i pokažem plan.
And then I would come back and work in my office.
I onda bi se vratio i radio u svom uredu.
By doing that, by listening to the tapes and showing the plan, it gave me energy.
Slušajući kazete i pokazujući plan, dalo mi je energiju.
It was refreshing
To me osvježavalo.
because I realized that here was the solution to my time problem.
Shvatio sam da je tu rješenje za moje probleme s vremenom.
I didn't use my lack of time as a reason not to do the business.
Nisam iskoristio svoj nedostatak vremena kao razlog da ne radim posao.
I realized that the business was going to give me more time as it started to succeed.
Shvatio sam da će mi posao dati puno više vremena nego što sam ga imao.
And the most important thing that I did right
I najvažnija stvar koju sam učinio ispravno
was that soon after I started,
je da sam ubrzo nakon što sam počeo,
there was a weekend seminar.
bio je vikend seminar.
I didn't have time to go,
Nisam imao vremena da idem,
but somehow I made time to go.
ali nekako sam ga našao.
The most important thing you can do when you're getting started in this business
Najvažnije što možete napraviti kad krenete u ovaj posao
is to go to a weekend seminar.
je da odete na vikend seminar.
If you're here for the very first time today
Ako ste ovdje po prvi puta danas
and you don't understand anything,
i ništa ne razumijete,
that's okay.
to je u redu.
Yeah, it's okay.
U redu.
Go to Zagreb
Odite u Zagreb
on the 1st of June
1.6.
and you'll understand.
i sve ćete shvatiti.
And you'll see how it can help you to achieve what you want in your life.
I vidjet ćete kako vam može pomoći da postignete ono što želite u životu.
The other decision that I made too when I first got started
Još jedna odluka koju sam napravio kad sam krenuo u posao
is that I wanted everybody that I knew to know about this business.
bila je da sam htio sam upoznati sve koje znam sa ovom idejom.
I didn't leave anybody off my list.
Nisam izostavio nikog s liste.
Why?
Zašto?
Because I did not want any of my colleagues or clients or anybody
Zato što nisam htio da niko od mojih kolega, klijenata i ostalih
to find out about what they thought I was doing from somebody else.
da saznaju što ja radim od nekog drugog.
I wanted them to find out from me what I was really doing.
Htio sam da saznaju od mene što zapravo radim.
So don't leave anybody off your list.
Zato nikog nemojte izostaviti sa liste.
Show everybody so that there's no misunderstandings.
Pokažite svima tako da ne bi bilo nesporazuma.
So up until now it's just been myself getting started in the business.
Do sad sam vam pričao kako sam kretao u posao.
What about my beautiful wife Joanne?
A što je sa mojom prekrasnom ženom Joanne?
Okay. I'd met Joanne sometime before
Upoznao sam Joanne malo prije.
doing bungee jumping. Do you know what bungee jumping is? Boing, boing, that one?
Radila je na bungee jumpingu.
Yeah. Now we didn't meet on the end of the rope.
Nismo se sreli na kraju užeta.
Friends of mine were operating the bungee business in Australia.
Moji prijatelji su otvorili tvrtku i bavili se bungee jumping.
And they asked me to do some photography
I
to do a big poster for advertising.
I zamolili su me da ih poslikam i napravim reklamu, poster za njih.
Joanne was running, she's from a marketing background.
Ona je sa marketinškog podrijekla, trčala je.
And she was running the shopping center which had the bungee operation next to it.
Vodila je shopping centar koji se nalazio blizu mjesta gdje se održavao bungee jumping.
Right, so I wanted to get access to the roof of the building to take a good photograph.
Ona je imala pristup do krova koji je meni trebao da napravim dobru sliku.
So I went to the manager's office and there was Joanne.
I otišao sam do ureda direktora i tamo sam vidio da je Joanne.
And I asked her permission to get onto the roof.
I pitao sam da li bi mogao se popeti na krov.
And she was very kind and she offered to show me the way.
I bila je vrlo ljubazna i rekla da će mi pokazati put.
Now it's a long story.
To je duga priča.
But the short version is this.
Ali ovo je kratka verzija.
There was a ladder to go up into the roof.
Postoje ljestve kojima se ide do krova.
Joanne was wearing a short skirt.
Joanne je nosila kratku suknju.
And you might say that's the first time I saw her potential.
I može se reći da sam tada prvi put ugledao njezin potencijal.
Now I knew Joanne was a very successful businesswoman.
Znao sam da je Joanne jako uspješna poslovna žena.
When I first met her, she had a boyfriend.
Kad sam je upoznao, imala je dečka.
And I also had some girlfriends.
I ja sam imao neke djevojke.
And so we did not get together.
Pa se nismo spojili.
But she was still on my list.
Ali bila je na mojoj listi.
So when I started this business,
I tako dok sam počeo posao,
I called her up.
Nazvao sam je.
And I made friends.
Isprijateljio se s njom.
I rekindled the friendship.
Obnovio sam prijateljstvo.
I went to visit her in her office.
Otišao sam do nje u njezin ured.
She now had her own business.
Imala je svoj posao.
And we just spoke and I found out what she was doing.
I tako smo razgovarali i otkrio sam čime se bavi.
This is sometimes an important thing if you have not seen somebody for a long time.
To je kad vrlo važna stvar ako nekog niste vidjeli dugo vremena.
I'm sure if I just had called her up without renewing the friendship, she would have gone, who are you? What?
Siguran sam da sam direktno nazvao i rekao što sam htio, pitala bi ko je to.
Yeah, so it's good to renew that friendship first.
Zato je dobro da obnovite prijateljstvo prvo.
And maybe get an idea of what they want in life.
I dobijete ideju što žele od života.
I invited Joanne.
Pozvao sam Joanne.
On the telephone.
Na telefon.
Just like the system.
Kao što sistem kaže.
And she was going to come to my second home meeting.
I trebala je doći na moj drugi kućni plan.
With lots of other people.
Sa gomilom drugih ljudi.
On the morning of that meeting,
ujutro prije tog sastanka,
Joanne says that she was just about to pick up the telephone and tell me and cancel. She was not going to come.
Joanne je htjela nazvati me i reći mi da ne dolazi.
And just at that moment,
i baš u tom trenutku,
I called her.
Ja sam nju nazvao.
And I said, "Hello, Joanne."
I rekao, "Hello, Joanne."
How are you?
Kako si?
I said, "Tell me, what time did we say we would get together tonight? 7:30 or 7:45?"
I reci mi kad smo se dogovorili za večeras, u 7:30 ili 15 do 8?
She said 7:45.
Rekla je 15 do 8.
I said, "That's great. See you then. Bye."
Rekao sam, to je odlično. Vidimo se, bok.
I followed the system.
Pratio sam sistem.
The message is the system works if you just do what the system says.
Poruka je, sistem radi ako radite ono što sistem kaže.
Because if I had not done that, she would not have turned up.
Jel da nisam to napravio, ne bi se pojavila.
She would not have joined the business.
Ne bi se priključila poslu.
We would not have fallen in love.
I ne bi se zaljubili jedno u drugo.
So important to follow the system.
Jako je važno da pratite sistem.
So Joanne came to my second meeting.
I tako je Joanne došla na moj drugi kućni plan.
in my house.
U moju kuću.
Now, I'll describe my house.
Opisat ću vam svoju kuću.
If you know any architects, you probably know that they live in unfinished houses. They're always being renovated.
Ako poznajete koje arhitekte, znate da uvijek žive u nedovršenim kućama. Uvijek nešto renoviraju.
Well, this house was not unfinished.
Ova kuća nije bila nedovršena.
It was more like it hadn't been started.
I više izgledala kao da nije ni bila počena graditi.
It was a building site.
Bilo je to gradilište.
The room where I held my first meeting,
Soba u kojoj sam držao svoj prvi plan.
the wall to the outside was missing. There was open to the sky.
Vanjski zid je nedostajao, vidlo se nebo.
To get to that room, you had to walk through the house on a plank
Da bi došli do te sobe morali ste hodati po dasci.
with all the floor missing.
Sa svim, pod je nedostajao.
And the room where I had the meetings, there was no furniture.
I soba u kojoj sam održao plan nije bilo namještaja.
The people who came sat on the cement bags
Ljudi koji su došli sjedili su na vrećama cementa
and on the stacks of timber.
i na naslaganom drvu.
So don't wait.
Zato nemojte čekati.
You don't have to wait for the perfect time.
Ne morate čekati savršeni trenutak.
There's no perfect time to start. Just start now.
Ne postoji savršeni trenutak da počnete. Počnite sad.
Joanne describes that was the first time she'd come to my house.
Joanne je bilo prvi put da je došla u moju kuću
And she said it was like walking into the twilight zone.
i rekla je da se osjećala kao da je u zoni sumraka.
She said it's the scariest thing she's ever done.
I rekla je da je to najstrašnija stvar koju je ikad napravila.
But people didn't come to see the house.
No ljudi nisu došli gledati kuću,
They came to see the business idea.
nego poslovnu ideju.
And that's what they saw.
I to su vidjeli.
My sponsor showed the business.
Moj sponzor je pokazao plan,
People saw the idea.
ljudi su vidjeli ideju,
They didn't care about the house.
nije ih bilo briga za kuću,
They didn't even care about me.
nije ih bilo briga ni za mene.
They joined because they liked the idea.
Pridružili su se zato što im se ideja sviđala.
So the business got rolling.
Posao je krenuo.
It didn't matter that I didn't have any time.
Nije bilo važno što nisam imao vremena,
It didn't matter that I couldn't actively work the business a lot.
nije bilo važno što nisam ja mogao aktivno previše sudjelovati u poslu.
The leg got started.
Otvorila mi se noga.
So it wasn't until some time later
Tek nakon nekog vremena
that I became a little bit more active in the business.
postao sam malo aktivniji u poslu
And I went out with Joanne one day to do some follow-ups.
i otišao sam sa Joanne da napravimo neke follow-upove.
And in between the two follow-ups,
I između dva follow-upa
Joanne and I stopped to have a cup of coffee.
Joanne i ja smo svratili na kavu.
And it was the first time I'd really had a chance to sit down with Joanne.
I to je bila prva prilika da sam sjeo negdje na samo sa Joanne.
That cup of coffee took about 15 minutes.
Ta kava je trajala otprilike 15 minuta.
And at the end of that 15 minutes, I was in love.
I nakon tih 15 minuta ja sam bio zaljubljen.
It's like a fairy tale.
Kao bajka.
Joanne and I were both very busy.
Joanne i ja oboje bili smo jako zaposleni.
We were working hard in the daytimes with our own businesses, classical
Naporno smo
businesses.
radili tijekom cijelog dana na svojim poslovima.
And we were working at night to build this business.
Radili smo po noći da bi se gradili taj posao.
So for us to have our romance,
I za nas da bi imali svoju vezu,
we used to meet at midnight at coffee shops
sastajali smo se u ponoć u kafićima
and spend some hours together.
i provodili neko vrijeme zajedno.
So nobody knew that we were having this romance.
I tako niko nije znao da smo u vezi.
It was almost a secret.
Bila je to gotovo tajna.
So, but Joanne and I, we fell in love.
Joanne i ja smo se zaljubili.
We connected on values.
Bližili smo se zahvaljujući vrijednostima.
First present that Joanne ever gave me
Prvi dar koji mi je Joanne dala
was a beautiful poem
je bila prekrasna pjesma.
done in calligraphy on a beautiful painting
Bila je urezana
by a poet called Leo Rosten.
od pjesnika koji se zove Leo Rosten.
And some of the lines of that poem are,
I neki dijelovi te pjesme su:
the purpose of life is to stand for something,
svrha života je boriti se za nešto.
to have it make a difference that you lived at all.
Da napravite razliku da ste živjeli.
And that's how we felt about life.
I tako smo se odnosili prema životu.
And that's why we love and respect this business, because more than anything we've ever done in our life,
I zato volimo i poštujemo ovaj posao jer je više od svega što smo ikad napravili u životu.
this business allows us to not only make a difference in our lives,
Ovaj posao nam dozvoljava da napravimo promjene u svojem životu,
but to make a difference in the lives of many other people.
ali i promjene u životima mnogih drugih ljudi.
Do you want to make a difference in people's lives?
Da li vi želite napraviti promjene u ljudskim životima?
With this business you can.
Sa ovim poslom to možete.
Yeah. So after a few months after we got together, Joanne and I decided to get married.
I tako nakon par mjeseci što smo bili zajedno, odlučili smo se vjenčati.
And I like having fun.
I ja se volim zabavljati.
So what we did is we organized a surprise wedding.
I organizirali smo iznenađenje, vjenčanje, ali koje je bilo iznenađenje.
I invited people to come to a beautiful restaurant for a surprise birthday party for Joanne.
Pozvao sam ljude da dođu na zabavu iznenađenja kao za Joannin rođendan.
I got all our friends and family there.
Pozvao sam sve prijatelje i rodbinu.
And Joanne came to that restaurant.
Joanne je došla u taj restoran.
And when she walked into the restaurant, everyone jumped out and said, "Surprise!"
Kad je ušla u restoran, svi su skočili i rekli iznenađenje.
And she went, "Oh, thank you for the surprise."
I ona je rekla, joj, hvala vam za iznenađenje.
And I had a beautiful chamber orchestra there. And I had, the waiters and everything. It was a beautiful, beautiful day.
Imali smo prekrasan orkestar i prekrasne konobare. I bio je prekrasan dan.
Joanne said, "Thank you very much," and she, disappeared upstairs in this restaurant.
I rekla je, puno vam hvala i nestala je gore negdje.
And while I spoke to people there, she changed into her wedding gown.
I dok sam ja razgovarao tamo s ljudima, ona se presvukla u svoju vjenčanicu.
And when she was ready, she came down this beautiful staircase at the back of the restaurant.
I kad je bila spremna, spustila se niz prekrasne stepenice u restoran.
And just at that moment, everybody realized what was happening.
I u tom trenutku svi su shvatili što se događa.
It was the most romantic thing you've ever seen.
Bilo je to nešto najromantičnije što možete ikad vidjeti.
Yeah. So, some people laughed.
I tako neki ljudi su se smijeli.
Some people cried.
Neki su plakali.
The best man fainted.
Kum se onesvijestio.
Because everyone was so shocked, everyone didn't know that we were even seeing one another.
Zato što su svi bili iznenađeni, nisu ni znali da se viđamo.
Especially my family.
Pogotovo moja obitelj.
My parents were crying because they thought I would never get married.
Moji roditelji su plakali jer su mislili da se nikad neću oženiti.
So it was a wonderful day.
I tako je to bio prekrasan dan.
Yeah. This sounds like a fairy tale, but the fairy tale soon turned into a nightmare.
Zvuči kao bajka, ali bajka se uskoro pretvorila u noćnu moru.
Because Joanne and I are both fairly strong, independent people who had lived by ourselves for a long time.
Zato što smo i Joanne i ja jako neovisni ljudi i dugo smo sami živjeli.
Has everyone read the book Personality Plus?
Je li neko pročitao knjigu Osobnost plus?
It's a wonderful book, yeah, and it talks about people's personalities.
To je prekrasna knjiga i govori o osobnostima ljudi.
I am a sanguine choleric.
Ja sam sangvinik, kolerik.
And Joanne is a choleric melancholy.
A Joanne je kolerik melankolik.
I like to get things done, but I like to have fun doing things.
Ja volim obaviti stvari, ali volim se pritom zabavljati.
And Joanne wants to get things done. She wants them done perfectly. And what has fun got to do with it anyway?
A ona želi napraviti posao, želi ga napraviti savršeno, ali zabava nema veze.
So that was a problem.
Dakle, to je bio problem.
The other challenges that we had when we first got started in the business
još neki izazovi koji su nam se pojavili kad smo krenuli u posao
was me.
Jesam bio ja.
As you know, I'm an architect.
Kao što znate, ja sam arhitekt.
And architects are very creative.
I arhitekti su jako kreativni.
So I looked at Network 21.
I zato sam pogledao Network 21.
And I said, I can create a better Network 21.
I rekao sam, ja mogu napraviti bolju mrežu.
So I created Network 22.
I zato sam napravio Network 22.
And when that didn't work, I created Network 23.
I kad to nije uspjelo, napravio sam Network 23 i tako dalje.
None of them worked.
Nijedan nije radio.
To succeed in this business, the best thing you can do
uspjeti u ovom poslu, odnosno najbolje što možete napraviti za to,
is to start thinking I know nothing,
je da počnete razmišljati ja ništa ne znam.
And learn from the system and follow the system.
I učim iz sustava i pratim sistem.
The other challenge we had when we started in the business,
još jedan izazov koji nam se pojavio
was me.
Sam bio ja.
I'm an architect and I was used to doing big presentations to big companies.
Ja sam arhitekt i navikao sam raditi prezentacije velikim tvrtkama.
So I would draw the plan on a whiteboard.
Nacrtao bi plan na ploči.
And it would be a work of art.
I to bi bila umjetnost.
With perfect circles.
Savršeni krugovi.
Architectural.
Arhitekski.
People would come up afterwards and want to take a photograph.
Ljudi si poslije dolaze i htjeli su slikati to.
It was so beautiful.
Bilo je prekrasno.
But they also said I could never do that.
Ali također su rekli ja to nikad ne bi mogao.
So nobody would want to duplicate. No one would want to join.
I zato se niko nije htio duplicirati, niko se nije htio priključiti.
That's not what this business is about.
Ovaj posao nije o tome.
It's not about being impressive.
Nije bitno biti impresivan.
All you're doing is communicating a simple idea. Do it in a way that other people can do it.
Radite na način na koji će moći i drugi ljudi raditi.
The music you want to hear after you show someone this business
Muzika koju želite čuti nakon što pokažete ovaj posao
is the words, I could do that.
jesu riječi i čekaj, ja to mogu napraviti.
So just keep the business nice and simple.
Zato održavajte posao jednostavnim.
So with all of our challenges, especially our relationship challenges,
I uza sve izazove, posebno glede naše veze,
thank God for Network 21.
hvala Bogu na Network 21.
Because it's only through Network 21 and the books we discovered through Network 21
Jer jedino uz Network 21 i knjige koje smo otkrili uz njih
and through the love and care and support of the people who were working with us and supporting us in Network
i
21
ljubav, brigu i podržavanje koji su nam pružili naši upline,
that our marriage survived.
naš brak je preživio.
We had to learn to focus on one another's strengths
Morali smo se naučiti fokusirati na naše vrline
and ignore the weaknesses.
i zanemariti mane.
We had to learn to understand and forgive.
Morali smo naučiti razumjeti i opraštati.
I had to learn the 5 most important words in a relationship.
Morao sam naučiti 5 najvažnijih riječi u vezi.
I apologize.
Ispričavam se,
You are right.
ti si u pravu.
There's a tape in Network 21 by a lady called Sharon Webb,
Postoji kazeta Networka 21 od gospođe Sherin Webb
and she says that if you are unable to forgive somebody,
i ona kaže ako niste u mogućnosti nekome oprostiti,
it's like you drinking poison
jest kao da pijete otrov
and expecting the other person to die.
i očekujete da će ova druga osoba umrijeti.
So we found that the business, our progress in the business was directly related to our personal relationship.
I otkrili smo da je uspjeh posla direktno vezan na naš odnos prema poslu.
So when we got our relationship together,
I kad smo sredili svoju vezu
and when I put my ego in my pocket and I became teachable and followed the system,
i kad sam svoj ego stavio u džep i prihvatio učiti,
then almost immediately we went 21% and we went ruby in our second month of 21%. Boom.
gotovo odmah smo došli na 21% i postali rubini u svom poslu.
If you follow the system just makes the business grow for you.
Ako pratite sistem, sistem će vam sam graditi posao.
Soon after that, our daughter Gabrielle was born,
Uskoro nakon toga rodila nam se i kćer Gabriela
and that gave us a new motivation to be free.
i to nam je dalo novu motivaciju da postanemo slobodni.
So we built to emerald and now we are free.
Došli smo do smaragda i sad smo slobodni.
People often ask us, why did we build the business?
Ljudi nas često pitaju zašto smo sagradili posao.
We were both successful in our classical businesses.
Bili smo oba dvoje uspješni u svojim klasičnim poslovima.
We could both earn as much money as we wanted in our classical businesses.
Mogli smo zaraditi koliko god novaca smo htjeli u svojim klasičnim poslovima.
We had all the status, we had all the prestige.
Imali smo status, imali smo prestiž.
But the thing is that everybody who ever asked that question
Ali to pitanje su postavljali oni ljudi
has had no exposure to this business.
koji nisu imali iskustva s tim poslom.
They have not been in a room like this.
Nisu bili u ovakvoj prostoriji.
They have not met your leaders.
Nisu upoznali vaše vođe.
They haven't met you.
Nisu vas upoznali.
They don't understand.
Ne razumiju.
Because as successful as you may be doing other things, earning money doing other things,
Iako možete biti uspješni u drugim stvarima i zarađivati veliki novac,
it's only when you meet people in this business and you realize that the income that they earn is residual income, passive income,
jedino u ovom poslu možete shvatiti da još dodatni prihod
that you realize that the success in this business
i shvatite da je uspjeh u ovom poslu
is not just financial,
nije samo financijske naravi,
it's freedom.
nego i sloboda.
Do you want freedom?
Želite li slobodu?
It's good that you're here.
Dobro je da ste ovdje.
To me, once you have witnessed the success of this business and you know that it is possible,
Za mene, kad ste se uvjerili sami sebe da ovaj posao funkcionira,
to me it would have been embarrassing not to take advantage of it
meni bi bilo neugodno ne iskoristiti to
and to keep working in the situation that I was for the next 40 years.
i nastaviti raditi u situaciju kako sam bio idućih 40 godina.
So it all gets down to one question.
I sve se svodi na jedno pitanje.
Why are you here?
Zašto ste ovdje?
You know, like what do you want?
Što vi želite?
Often in the classical business world, our ego gets wrapped up in what we do.
Često u klasičnom poslu naš ego se pomiješa sa onim što želimo.
And many people confuse what they do for a living with who they really are.
I mnogi brkaju ono što žele biti u životu i ono što jesu.
I had to ask myself, was I committed to architecture because of the income?
Ja sam se morao zapitati da li sam vezan na arhitekturu zbog prihoda
Or the status?
ili statusa,
Or just the fact that I'd done it for many years?
ili samo činjenice da sam to radio puno godina,
Or was I committed to it because it was going to give me the freedom that I wanted?
ili sam bio predan tome poslu zato što je obećavala slobodu.
Once I asked that question, the answer was clear.
Jednom kad sam si postavio to pitanje, odgovor je bio jasan.
The only business that I've ever seen in life that will give you both the income and the freedom is this business.
Jedini posao koji sam vidio u svom životu koji će vam dati i vrijeme i novac jest ovaj posao.
It's an easy decision.
To je laka odluka.
So was it worth it?
Je li vrijedilo?
So you might ask, was it worth it?
Pitam vas, je li vrijedilo?
It certainly was worth it.
Vrijedilo je.
You judge for yourself.
Vi posudite sami.
Only a few years ago I was working 80 hours a week and now I work if I want to. I work by choice.
Još prije nekoliko godina radio sam 80 sati na tjedan, a sad radim kad god želim.
A few years ago with the business I was stressed. I had a lot of financial risk and now there's no stress and no financial risk.
Prije par godina bio sam pod stresom i non stop sam mislio na financijski rizik, a sada toga više nema.
A few years ago there was never enough time to do the important things I wanted to do, like family things.
Prije par godina nije bilo vremena da radim stvari koje su zbilja važne, na primjer obitelj.
And now we have complete choice of what we want to do with our time. We do what we want to do when we want to do it.
Sad ima potpun izbor što želimo raditi sa svojim vremenom.
I can be the full-time father that I wanted to be.
Mogu biti otac tijekom cijelog dana.
I can be the full-time husband that
Mogu
I think
biti muž tijekom cijelog dana.
we can do really whatever we want to do.
Možemo raditi što god želimo.
Is that the sort of future that you want for yourself and your family?
Da li vi takvu budućnost želite za sebe i svoju obitelj?
Is that why you're here today?
Jeste li zato tu?
If that's what you want, with Network 21, you can do it.
Ako to želite uz Network 21, vi to možete.
Hvala. Talk to you later.